Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is T. Quigney. I'll be moderating today's press conference on behalf of the Minot Police Department. We're here today to address the investigation results of the officer-involved shooting that occurred on October 25th. Here's how the press conference will proceed. I will give a brief synopsis of the incident that occurred on October 25th. Captain Dale Plessis will give a breakdown of our department policies and the external investigation process for an incident like this. I will read the investigation letter findings from Ladd R. Erickson of the McLean County State's Attorney's Office. Captain Dale Plessis will give a breakdown of the internal investigation and review process. Body camera footage will be played, along with still images from officer-worn body cameras from inside the residence. Afterward, we will open the floor to questions. We ask that you hold your questions until the end of the presentation and keep them focused on today's topics. Early morning on October 25th, we were dispatched to Southwest Minot for a reported domestic disturbance incident. Dispatch had overheard threats of a firearm during the call and relayed this information to responding officers. Officers Tyler Birch and Cullen Hull arrived on scene at approximately 7:42 a.m. And as they approached this residence, they encountered a female who informed them that he has a gun. Both officers entered the residence with their weapons drawn, and the suspect raised his pistol towards the officers. Both officers discharged their weapons, killing the suspect. Now at this time, I'd invite Captain Dale Plessis to speak.
All right, well, thank you all for being here. Before we get into the actual incident and what occurred and McLean County findings, I just want to give you a quick rundown on the process that we follow in any officer-involved shooting incident. I think it's important that we for public, the public to understand the process that we undertake. So there is actually a bifurcation of processes. There's a criminal and a administrative process that we follow. The criminal process is designed to ensure that all state and local laws were followed in the incident. It's our policy at the police department that this process be handled by an outside agency. As a result, on October 25th, I contacted the North Dakota Bureau of Investigations and asked them to conduct this investigation. They immediately sent a team of investigators to take over this investigation. At the completion of their process, it goes on to a state's attorney for review. In this instance, the McLean County State's Attorney Ladd Erickson reviewed their findings after a very thorough investigation by the North Dakota Bureau of Criminal Investigations. His review will follow my statement here. So the administrative process is a process that's handled internally by the police department. It's actually handled by our Office of Professional Standards, Lieutenant Shane Haug, who I have here to answer questions if there are any at the end here. That is also a very in-depth investigation, and upon his completion, it's reviewed by a use of force board. That's as per our policy. So the Use of Force Board is a 5-member board. All the members of the Use of Force Board are North Dakota Post-Certified Law Enforcement Officers. They're all familiar with use of force and the practice of use of force. This board consisted of 1 Minot Police Department Use of Force instructor, 2 Minot Police Department supervisors, 1 Ward County Sheriff's Department deputy, and 1 North Dakota Parole and Probation officer. I'll review the findings of the use of force after T goes over Ladd Erickson's statement or his letter. After that, we'll discuss the video, or we'll show the video to the extent that we can, and we'll have some still shots, and I'll give you some more explanation. So I'll turn it back over to T.
I will now read the external investigation findings letter from McLean County State's Attorney Ladd R. Erickson. This letter was sent to Rosa Larson. During the letter, I will refer to the adult female victim as Jane Doe and the juvenile male victim as John Doe. Dear Rosa, I have read the police reports and watched the body cam videos related to the Minot police officers Tyler Birch and Cullen Hall's use of deadly force on Michael Bryant during a domestic violence call for service on October 25th, 2024. In addition, I staffed this case with Bureau of Criminal Investigations, or BCI, Special Agent Keely Absalonson, who was assigned as this case agent for this investigation. The case evidence shows that on and before October 25th, Michael Bryant was in an unstable psychological state, which was amplified by illegal drug use. During her interview, Bryant's former girlfriend, Jane Doe, stated she had been in a 7-year relationship with Bryant and they had a 3-year-old child, John Doe, together. Jane Doe stated that Bryant struggled with a methamphetamine addiction and had previously overdosed on fentanyl. Bryant's criminal record and post-mortem toxicology report corroborate this. In August 2024, Jane Doe moved to Minot from the home she shared with Bryant in Washburn, North Dakota. Shortly after leaving him, she started receiving 20 to 40 phone calls and messages a day from Bryant, some she felt threatening suicide. On October 5th, she contacted the McLean County Sheriff's Department to report her concerns that Bryant might be a risk to himself. McLean County Sergeant Cody Meadows talked to Jane Doe and felt that Bryant's threats to harm himself were vague, but decided to do a health and welfare check on Bryant anyway. When a deputy contacted Bryant at his home, he denied that he was threatening to harm himself, but told the deputy that he had said some things to Jane Doe that he really didn't mean. On October 6th, Jane Doe texted Sergeant Meadows that Bryant's brother was coming to take him back to Arizona and should be there that night, but Bryant ultimately did not go with his brother to Arizona. On October 20th, 2024, Jane Doe went back to the home she had shared with Bryant in Washburn to retrieve some personal items and noticed Bryant had completely destroyed the house and burned some of her property in a fire pit. Also, he placed some of her personal items in a bathtub and urinated and defecated on them. On October 23rd, Bryant called Jane Doe requesting visitation with John Doe. After the call ended, she texted Bryant that he was not in the right state of mind to take John Doe, and when Bryant got sober and was in good mental health, he could take John Doe. On October 24th, Jane Doe received 40 to 50 very harassing text messages from Bryant that she did not respond to. On October 25th, a 911 call was received by Minot Central Dispatch, and police units were requested by a dispatcher to respond to an active domestic incident in southwest Minot. From the 911 call recording, the dispatcher could hear, "Someone is going to get shot," and a baby screaming at that address. During her interview, Jane Doe stated that Bryant had shown up at the house with a gun, and when she locked the door to keep him away from her, he kicked in the door, grabbed her, and put the gun to her head. She asked Bryant why he was there, and he said, "To kill you, the kids, and myself." While listening to the open 911 call, the dispatcher relayed to responding officers that she could hear a lady screaming, "He needs to leave, and he's refusing to leave." And the female said something about shooting her in the head, and the male has a gun. Followed by the dispatcher informing responding officers that a female is now screaming hysterically. The procedures Officer Birch and Hall used in response to this domestic violence call for service were exceptional. When the officers arrived at the residence, they encountered a female witness outside that stated they needed to get in there, "He's got a gun." Both officers entered the house with their duty weapons drawn and saw Bryant grab 2 people, fall to the ground with them. Bryant had a pistol in his right hand and was trying to hold the 2 people down with his left arm, apparently as a shield from the officers. Body cam footage then shows Bryant raising his pistol towards the officers, and when the pistol was a fraction of a second away from being lined up on the officers, they both fired their duty weapons at Bryant's head, killing him. Bryant's pistol was recovered from the scene, and it was loaded and ready to fire. Because of the positioning and stances the officers took with their duty weapons drawn as they entered the house, they were able to neutralize Bryant before he could shoot Jane Doe and John Doe or themselves. Their use of deadly force was forced upon them by Bryant's actions and was justified. Therefore, I am clearing Officers Birch and Hall of any wrongdoing and closing this case. Sincerely, Ladd R. Erickson. At this time, I will call Dale back up to the lectern.
Okay, so two officers involved, Senior Officer Tyler Birch and Officer Cullen Hall. Do you want to move on to the next? So the internal investigation came back with a similar finding. There were no policy violations. That one focused on above and beyond state law and on our actual department policies, and they were cleared of any wrongdoing. And as a result, both officers have been reinstated to regular active duty with the police department. Gonna move on. So the video here is a bit graphic. It ends at the threshold of the door. So we're not going to show inside of the house. That's an exempt from state law, exempt area. But we're going to play up to that point, and then we're going to show a couple of still shots so that you can see what the officers saw during that. So go ahead and play it.
Back here, Tyler. Correct. Connor, run around back for me. There's people inside. Give it a knock. 10-4. We got contact with one.
No, I'm her sister.
Okay. You still have the gun?
Oh my God.
So the video ends there. We're not going to play any further than that. This is what the officers saw when they went inside. So initially, Bryant was standing. However, he immediately grabbed Jane Doe, who was holding John Doe, and fell to the ground. When officers went in, they saw Michael Bryant with a handgun, and he immediately turned the gun on them, necessitating use of force. As you can see here, there's a picture of the firearm. If you go back one slide, if you look closely to the left of Michael Bryant, you can see Michael Bryant's wearing denim jeans. You can see the dark image on the side. That's how close the Jane Doe was to him at the time. Go ahead, you can move forward again. This is just an image showing the circle shows his handgun pointing up towards Officer Hall. One more. Okay, so I guess I'm just gonna make one final statement here, and then we'll open it up for questions. I talked to both Officer Hall and Officer Birch, and I can tell you neither of them wanted to be placed in this situation. I can also tell you that thank God they were there and acted in the manner that they did. We'll never know for sure what Michael Bryant's intent was, but we know that these two officers rushed into a situation they knew was dangerous. They did this without a second thought of their own safety, and they did this to protect the lives of people they don't know. So I'm very proud of them for that. Do you have any questions? Joe?
The officers, are they being provided
Yeah, so our department has a robust peer support system. We also provide them with, right after any action like this, there is a, what we call a debrief. It's a trained process where we have officers, usually from the North Dakota Highway Patrol or from other agencies, come in and do a debrief on the situation that occurred. That's all a very a private process, but we also offer other services through our EAP service to them as well. So. Well, it's been many years. Within Minot, it's been many years. I know that the only one I can think of that actually occurred, and that was before, that was like 30 years ago, was outside of Cole Harbor. So it's been a long time.
One other question I have is commendable on you to be holding a press conference today to hold this. Oftentimes, and every situation is judged on its own merits, and we have different departments, but when we have officer involved shootings in North Dakota, if the officers are clear of wrongdoing, oftentimes the department or the prosecutor will just send out a release. The gesture of having this press conference today, is this meant to be a show of transparency with the department here?
Yeah, absolutely. So we wanted to be as transparent as possible in this process, and we wanted to make sure that there's public confidence in our process. So we felt like a press conference was a better route of getting there, making sure that everybody knew what happened. Any other questions? Yes, Tommy James?
I was going to ask you, when after a officer in general gets into a situation where somebody has died by a police fire, how long do you monitor that person? I know they're back on duty now. How long do they monitor to make sure that there's no psychological effects?
I don't know specifically how long you would monitor somebody, but I can tell you that it's something that will stay with them forever. I might actually let Lieutenant Sunbakken talk a little bit to that.
Captain Sunbakken. Part of our wellness program that wasn't developed by me but was developed by one of the other captains at the PD is a pretty robust program, and it does have regular check-ins after any critical incident. And those, there's certain types of incidents that are automatically keyed for those types of things. So they'll do check-ins all the way out to 6 months, a year, for a considerable amount of time to make sure our people are okay.
When they go back to duty, are they straight back working like always, or is there a time period? I heard them talk about something, but like the time period where they kind of ease back in.
A lot of times it depends on what the officers want. If they feel like they're ready, which both of these officers were, then they're reinstated fully. And obviously we'll keep an eye on them, make sure they're okay and functioning as they should. But in the instance if an officer didn't feel like he was ready to step in, we would, hopefully be able to ease him into that transition a little bit slower. You're welcome.
One last, do you have information how long the officers have been with the department?
Let Jason answer that as well.
So Officer Birch has been with our department for a little over 3 years. Officer Hall has been with our department a little over 2 years. And then in addition to that, he was with the Burlington Police Department for about 1.5 years. So.
Any other questions? Any questions about the investigation or anything else pertaining to this incident? Okay, well, thank you all for coming today.